Okay, so let's have our objectives this evening. At the end of the lesson, you will be able to solve problems involving normal distribution, find the value of z-score in the table, yung binigay ko kanina, and identify the properties of normal distribution, and graph a normal curve. Yan yung objectives natin this evening. Okay, so let's have the outline of our discussion. Properties of the normal curve, the mean and standard deviation of the normal curve, the area under the curve, and the calculating z-scores. Wala na itong probability. Iba na itong probability. Hindi siya kasali. Now, let's have a short history about the normal distribution. So, the normal curve is often called the Gaussian distribution after Carl Friedrich Gauss, who discovered many of its properties. So, it was Carl Friedrich Gauss who has the greatest contribution, or kumbaga pa he has the largest contribution about this normal distribution. Gauss commonly viewed as one of the greatest mathematicians of all time, and because of that, okay, he was honored by by Germany, and they put her face or yung mukha niya in their 10 Deutschmark bill. Okay? So, what's the relationship of histogram and normal curve? Tingnan nyo dito, class. Okay? By the way, class, ang histogram, dapat alam nyo ang difference ng histogram at saka yung graph, yung bar graph. Yung histogram, walang space. Ang bar graph, meron. Itong histogram, dikit na siya, class. And if the histogram is normal, means your curve also is normal. Yan. Pero dito, as you can see, may isang number dito na medyo mataas, but ito lang, siya lang yung number na medyo iba, but the rest is, if you're going to that one, observe the graph, it still follows normal curve. Not that very normal, but still it follows normal curve. Okay, we have also this one. As you can see dito, this is the graph of normal curve. One standard deviation, later I will explain my value and then, one standard deviation is 68.268%. Two standard deviation is 95.45%. Three standard deviation, that's 99 point something. Later, ma-post na ko siya. Now, when we say normal distribution, it is a continuous probability distribution where most of the scores tend to be closer to the mean. So if your score is very close to the mean, you can create a normal distribution for that one. The term normal refers to the fact that this kind of distribution occurs in many different kinds of common measurement. Example of normal distribution is height of people in a population follows a normal distribution. Especially dito sa inyo class. Your height dito class, it follows normal distribution. Pati na rin yung age. Yung age ninyo class, it follows a normal distribution. Kasi most likely, your age naman, di ba, is mga around 21 ba kayo? 21, 20, 22. Andyan lang. 20, 21, 22. Or 19 ang iba. 19, 20, 21. Ganon dahil. 19, 20, 21. So, yung age ninyo is nandun lang na bracket. And your average is very close to your age. The mean age of the class is very close to your age. Kaya nga, your age, it follows normal distribution. Now, we have also normal random variable. When we say normal random variable, it is a continuous random variable of a normal distribution. Again, a normal random variable is a continuous random variable of a normal distribution. Okay, normal curve. Normal curve presents a normal distribution which is defined by the following probability density. We have f of x is equal to 1 over standard deviation square root of 2 pi e raised to negative 1/2 times x minus mean over standard deviation squared. Don't you worry, we are not going to use this formula, okay? But this is the formula of probability density function, and then This is the formula of probability density function. We're not going to utilize that one. Di na siya ano. Ako na siyang i-appeal. Ang pagbasa ani is mu, mu. Mu means that the mean of the distribution. Ito siya, sigma. Sigma means the standard deviation of the distribution. Okay? Ang ganahan, you need to familiarize this symbol. These symbols, this is the mu, mu. Ang ibig sabihin, this is the mean of the normal distribution. Then itong sigma, this is the sigma, or also called the standard deviation. The standard deviation of the distribution. Now, standard normal distribution. The standard normal distribution is the most common example of normal distribution with a mean of 0 and standard deviation of 1. Let me give you a graph of standard normal distribution. So, ito yung graph ng normal distribution class. The standard at the standard. Sorry, hiwi. Okay. Ang standard normal distribution is nga na always ang graph. The mean is 0, na ay 1 dire, then 2, then 3. Then negative 1, negative 2, and negative 3. So this is the graph of the standard normal distribution. The most common example of normal distribution with a mean of 0 and standard deviation of 1. Okay, again, this is the graph of your standard deviation. Next, we have the interpretation of scores using the mean and the standard deviation. Take note, this is the mean and the standard deviation of our normal distribution. Scores above the mean. When we say above the mean, that's positive, that's plus. So, ang pagbasa ani class, okay, ang pagbasa nito, ayan, ang pagbasa, that is the score, 1 standard deviation above the mean. Kung ito, mean plus 2 standard deviation, ang pagbasa niyan, score, 2 standard deviation above the mean. Kung 3 naman, score, 3 standard deviation above the mean. Ganyan ang pagbasa. Okay? Ganyan ang pagbasa, ha? Meanwhile, what if baliktad? Plus, ganyan na above yon. This time, minus, that's below. Minus siya, that's below. So, when you say below, that's minus yan. The score, 1 standard deviation below the mean. The score, 2 standard deviations below the mean. And ang last is ito, the score, 3 standard deviation below the mean. Again, you need to learn how to read that one. That's very important. Okay, ganina ang plus, dara, ito yung minus. Next, let's have an example. Example dayon ta. Determine the approximate location in terms of the standard deviation of the score. X is 75. Our score given here is 75. That lies in a normally distributed set of scores with a mean of 95 and with a standard deviation of 7.6. We are going to locate what is the approximate location of 75. Asa makita sa 75? Daaba siya sa 1 standard deviation above the mean or 2 standard deviation above the mean. We are going to solve that one. Okay? So kindly listen, kindly write the Okay, can you write the given? Let me share to you my board. Para makita ko ninyo ang nag-solve ko, no? Ipakita na akong board. Yan. Maklaro mo siguro akong board. Sige. So, let me share to you this one. Wait lang, ha. Okay. Let's write the given. The given is X is 75. That's our x. X is 75. We're going to determine ito. Saan ito makikita? Our mean is 95 and our standard deviation is 7.6. So this is our given. Okay? Ito yung given natin. Now, the first step that you need to determine, wait lang ha, the first step that we need to determine is ito. This is our mean, this is our value of x. Sino ang mas malaki? Mas malaki ang mean. Our mean is 95. Okay? Mas malaki yung mean natin. So that means your x is below the mean. Tama, di ba? Your x is below the mean. Again, our x is 75 and our mean is 95. So 75, our x is less than the mean. That means we are going to use those, ano kanina, i-present ko, yung mga below the mean. Yung 1 standard deviation below the mean, ito. 2 standard deviation below the mean, and 3 standard deviation below the mean. Okay? We are going to use this one. Now, what is the value of your mean? Your mean is 95 minus your standard deviation is 7.6. Okay? Your mean is, your mean is 95 minus 2. May 2 man. 2 standard deviation. Next, 95 minus 3 times 7.6. Pakisolve daw ko, class. Pakisolve ko. Wala ko calculator eh. Pakisolve daw ko. Pila answer, ani? Pila answer?
$87.47.
Okay. Wait lang ha. Mag-change ako camera ha. Mag-change ako camera. I-try na ako kung sa cam na ako. Anong first sagot natin dito? First sagot?
87.4.
87.4. Yung pangalawa?
79.8.
79.8.
79.8. Yung pangatlo?
72.2.
72.2.
2, sir.
Yung way up. May baba naman siya. Sige, 72.2. Now, after natin ma-identify ang tatlo, again, after natin ma-identify ang tatlo, go back ka sa x mo. Your x is 75. Your x is 75. Now, the question, sa ilahang tulo dire, asa makita yung x? Saan makita yung x? In between what? In between? X is 75. Asa ma siya makita? In between what number? In between 79.8 and 72.2. Again ha, your x is 75 and 75, we can find it in between these numbers. That means, okay, wait lang ha, hanapin na yung sulod. That means, what is your answer? Your answer now is, okay, your answer is 75 is greater than 72.2 but less than 79.8. Again, 75 is greater than, ang pagbasa ha is always sa tunga. Basta ingani ang situation, magbasa ka sa tunga. Magbasa ka sa tunga. Okay, so in this situation, 75 is greater than 72.2 but less than 79.8. Ito yung sagot, but the final answer should be like this, greater than. This one, 72.2 is 3 standard deviation below the mean. Then, 79.8 is 2 standard deviation below the mean. And this is now your answer. Ito yung sagot natin. Again ha, ang the first step is, we need to determine first if yung x natin is above ba siya or below. Now, our mean is 95, and our x is 75. And we have found out that 75 is less than 95. That means below siya. Below siya. And we are going to use yung below kanina. And these are the expressions. Ito yun siya, kaya below. Then we substitute the value of our mean, which is 95, and the value of our standard deviation is 7.6, and we solve it, ito siya. Now, upon solving, we need to determine also 75, saan siya makikita? In between what numbers? Again, 75, saan siya makikita in between what numbers? And we have found out that 75 is in between 79.8 and 72.2. Okay? Kaya nga, this is the basis of our answer. These numbers are our basis for our answer. 72.2 that's 3 standard deviation below the mean. Then 79.8 is the 2 standard deviation below the mean. Kaya nga ito yung sagot natin for our problem. Okay? So kindly write muna before we will proceed to our another example. Write muna before we will proceed to our next example. Okay, for our next example, we have here, let me share to you our next example. Apil na siya sa quiz ha. Ito, kindly answer that one class. Kindly answer. Pag-practice mong solve. Again, pag-practice mong solve. Then I will present my solution later. Okay? Okay, so let's solve. Your x here is 43.25 and the standard deviation is 12.47. So determine the approximate location of the score. X is 62.34 in terms of the standard deviation. So we are going to solve that one. Isulat ko muna yung given. Still open. Wala ko siya natanggal ang salupin. X is 62.34. The mean is 43.25. And our standard deviation is 12.47. Sige, let me transfer my camera. Okay, so we have this. X is 62.34. Our mean is 43.25 and our standard deviation is 12.47. The question is, we need to identify first if above ba siya or below. Now, your mean is 43.25. Your X is 62.34. What do you think? Above or below? That is very good.
Above.
Above. So we are going to use yung mga above. One standard deviation above the mean, two standard deviation above the mean, and three standard deviation above the mean. Then substitute, your mean is 43.25 plus our standard deviation is 12.47. Then 43.25 plus 2 times 12.47. Then 43.25 plus 3 times 12.47. Now, what do you think is the answer for this one, class? This is
55.72.
55.72. How about this one, the second one?
68.19.
8.19.
Then ang last one?
80.66.
0.66.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Now, the question is, our x is 62.34. Between what number siya? Between what number? Between? Ito?
55, 68.
Very good. So yung 68, yung 62.34 natin, that is the number between these numbers. So we are going to use 62.34 is greater than, unahon ang gamay, kasi greater than man siya, 62.34 is greater than 55.72 but less than 68.19. Now, for your answer ngayon, you have 62.34 is greater than this one. 55.72 is one standard deviation above the mean. Then, but less than 68.19 is two standard deviation above the mean. So this is now your answer. Again, this is now your answer. So kindly copy before we will proceed. Copy.
Okay, let's continue. So, ay mo katingalangan ng pula kay puglit sa filter na siya. Okay, so na-stress ko nga nung wala siya na-erase. Kaya wala na siya natanggal at cellophane. So anyways, let's continue. Let's continue. So tama yung sagot natin. Now, a continuous probability distribution for a random variable x, that is normal distribution. Then the normal distribution is the most important continuous probability distribution in statistics. And the graph of the normal distribution is what we call normal curve. Again, the graph of a normal distribution is what we call normal curve. Let's have the properties. The properties of normal distribution. The mean, mode, and median are equal. Again, the mean, mode, and median are equal. Please take note of this one, ha? The properties of normal distribution, the mean, mode, at saka median, they are all equal. The normal curve is a bell shape and it is symmetric about the mean. Okay, it is symmetric about the mean. Not median, not mode, but the mean. The total area under the normal curve is equal to 1. Take note of this one, ha? The total area under the normal curve is equal to 1. Yung naka-blue ganit na shade, that's equal to 1. Next, the normal curve approaches but never touches the x-axis. Yung sa baba gani, yung naka-horizontal, the normal curve approaches but never touches the x-axis as it extends farther and farther away from the mean. Take note, ha? The normal curve approaches but never, ever touches the x-axis as it extends farther and farther away from the mean. Next, between one standard deviation below the mean and between the score one standard deviation above the mean, the graph curves downward. The graph curves upward to the left of one standard deviation below the mean, and to the right, one standard deviation above the mean. The points at which curve changes from curving upward to downward are called the inflection points. Dara, tingnan niyo ang graph class. Yan yung inflection points. Okay, ito yun siya. Another properties, it has the normal distribution has a mean of 0. Standard normal distribution has a mean of 0 and standard deviation of 1. General relationship, please take note of these values. Positive or negative 1 standard deviation, the graph is about 68.26% or 0.6826. Again, positive and negative 1 standard deviation is about 68.26%, or the area is in decimal form, that's 0.6826. Pag 2 standard deviation, the area is about 95.44%, or in decimal form, the area is 0.9544. Next, the last but not the least, the positive or negative 3, the area is about 99.74%, or in decimal form, that is 0.9974. So please take note of that one. That's very important. Okay, next. Okay, let's have the characteristics or properties. A normal distribution is symmetric about the mean. In a normal distributed set of data, the mean will be placed at the center if the data are arranged in ascending order. Next, just like that one. Moreover, approximately 50% of the data is less than the mean and approximately 50% mean. Next, since the mean, median, and mode are of a normal distribution are all equal, since the mean and median and mode are all equal, the median and the mode are also located at the middle of the distribution. Kung ang mean is located at the middle, then the median and the mode also is located at the middle kasi they are all equal man. Next, a normal distribution is thicker at the center and less thick at the tails. Meaning na thicker at the center means that there are more scores located near at the center of the distribution and there are fewer scores found both ends of the distributions. Kaya ano man, less thick man ang tail. Next, yung kanina, yung positive at saka positive and negative one standard deviation. Note that the area of the normal distribution refers to the graphical representation of the percentage proportion of or a probability of a normal distribution. Pag 1 gani, that's 68.26%. I already gave you that one kanina. Pag 2 kay Pag 2 kay 95.44, pag 3 kay 99.97. Next, empirical rule. Again, we have this empirical rule. It states that 68.26% of the scores fall within one standard deviation away from the mean. 95.44% of the scores will fall within 2 standard deviation away from the mean. And 99.74% of the scores fall within 3 standard deviation away from the mean. Next, outliers. Scores that are more than 2 standard deviation away from the mean, they're what we call outliers. Example, a normally distributed set of data has a mean of 5 and a standard deviation of 2, and the score is 10. Then 10 is an outlier because it lies 2 standard deviation above the mean. Meanwhile, we have also extreme outliers. A normally distributed set of data has a mean of 15 and a standard deviation of 3. The score is 5. X is 5 is an extreme outlier because it lies 3 standard deviation away from the mean, below from the mean. Next, ito, a normally distributed set of data containing 5,624 scores, how many scores are expected to fall within one standard deviation away from the mean? Take note that one standard deviation away from the mean, ilan yung 68, di ba yun? 68.26%. Again ha, that 68.26% ang one standard deviation away from the mean. I-times mo ang 5,624 na scores sa 68.26, that means it's around 300, di ba? 3838.9. Always round up. Always round up. That's the rule. I-round up mo siya. That means, okay? That means the answer is 3,839. Okay, next. Ito, a particular normally distributed set of data has a mean of 53.28 and a standard deviation of 8.41. The question is 34 an outlier or not? Again, is 34 is an outlier or not? The answer is, okay, kung outlier siya, that's 2 standard deviation above the mean. Again, kung outlier siya, 2 standard deviation above the mean. Pero kung extreme outlier, 3 ni dapat. Again, kung outlier lang, 2 standard deviation away from the above from the mean. Pero kung extreme siya, 3 standard deviation. So nganong above ang gipili? Nganong above? Take note, your x is greater than the mean. I mean, batad. X is less than the mean. Mas dako ang mean kaysa sa standard deviation. Ay sa x. Sorry. Mas dako ang mean kaysa sa x. Your mean is 53.28 and your x is 34. So mas dako ang mean kaysa sa x. That means above siya. So upon checking, you are going to check if outlier ba siya. Again, outlier siya pag 2 standard deviation above the mean. Kung extreme outlier, that's 3 standard deviation above the mean. The result now is 70.1. 70.1. Okay, next. Ito naman, the below na process. That means 34 is an outlier. Again, 34 is an outlier. Tingnan mo dito. Yan. Di ba, mas dako ang atong nakuha. Okay? That's 2 standard deviation above 2 standard deviation below the mean. Okay? The 34, yan, ito, that's 2 standard deviation below the mean. Okay? So, for practice test, kindly answer this one. We are going to solve this one later. Ako sa nang ang board again. For practice test, kindly answer this one. Okay, outlier ha, take note outlier. So, saan siya? That's 2 standard deviation away from the mean or above from the mean. Again, this is outlier is 2 standard deviation above or below the mean. You're going to check that one. Then, more than 2 standard deviation. Okay. So please answer this one. Number 1, more than 2, that's 95.40%. Take note, the more than 2 is 95.4%. So can you solve? Ako sa ning i-ano ang board ha, kaya tanggalan ko cellophane. Okay, let's solve our first problem. Okay. 12,658. Wait lang ha. 12,000. Okay. Ayan. 12,658. Pila gani ang value sa 2 standard deviation? Pila gani ang 2 standard deviation class? Pila ka percent?
5.44%.
95.4%. So, i-times mo na siya of 95.4%. Will you answer? Will you answer, class? Will you answer? Mm-hmm. Ay, 44 deka, sorry. 95.44. Sorry, nabalik ko. 95.44. Yan. 44. Okay. The answer is 12,080.79. Okay, so round up, that's 12,081. Take note, walang whole number na, ay walang decimal na score. Score ba yung gibanggit doon? Score ba yun? O, score. Take note, walang decimal na score. So, I mean, in reality talaga, so i-round up siya. That's 12,081. Now, for problem number 2, ang nakalagay sa problem number 2, we have here, the mean is 23.6 and the standard deviation is 4.4, and we are going to determine whether this x is 33.1. Okay? We are going to determine this x is 33.1. Yan. Wait lang ha. Situation is outlier. So outlier, that's 2 standard deviation. It's either above or below the mean. Okay, again ha, it's outlier. So it's either 2 standard deviation above or below the mean. So we are going to check using this one. 2 standard deviation, that's 23.6 plus 2 times 4.4. Ang isa minus okay? What's the answer for this one? What's the answer?
32.4.
80. Ito?
52.4.
52.4.
32 po. 32.
Ay, sorry, 32. Sorry, 32. Ang isa, kanina sa baba, ang isa, ito.
14.8.
14.8. So, wala na problema. Wala na problema. Dili ta mag-focus. Okay, dili ta mag-focus ha because our x is 33.1. Now, the question is, kasi mas dako, okay, siya. That means, if you are going to graph that one class, if imuha siyang i-graph, if imuha mo siyang i-graph class, yan, kung kani siya is 1 standard deviation above the mean, kani siya is 2 standard deviation above the mean, and this is 32.4. Naadili ng part si 33.1. Nalapas siya. Nalapas siya, di ba? Nalapas. That means this 33.1 is an outlier. Again, nalapas man siya, di ba? Based sa graph natin, 33.1 nalapas siya. That means 33.1 is an outlier. Take note, ang basis for outlier is 2 standard deviation above or below the mean. Okay? Okay. So let me present to you my PowerPoint again. Let's continue our class discussion. Now, let's have this one, understanding the mean and standard deviation. So, I already discussed this one, no? When we say standard deviation, that's the spreadness of the data. How spread the data? Gaano ka-scattered. Ang mean is the average. Now, which normal curve has the greater mean? Para sa inyo class, kindly chat your answer. A or B? Saan ba ditong graph dito yung yung mean, yung normal curve has the greater mean? Sino sa kanila A or B ang mas malaki ang mean? Okay, kindly chat your answer. Okay, don't be shy to chat. Ano man, A or B? B, B, A. Eh, ano nga ba yung sagot natin? So, the correct answer for this one is letter A. A has the greater mean. Now, tingnan nyo dito, class. The line of symmetry for A, ito yan. The line of symmetry for A is 15. Now, for letter B, the curve B, the line of symmetry is 12. That means 12 is less than 15. 15 is greater than, di ba? Mas malaki si 15 kaysa kay 12. That means A has the greater mean. Okay? How about this one? Okay? This one. Which curve has the greater standard deviation? Okay? Which curve has the greater standard deviation? Okay, can you chat your answer? A or B? A, B, A, B. Okay, very good. It's letter B. Class, tingnan niyo ang letter B, class. Medyo scattered, medyo flat, di ba? Mas lapad ang B. Ang A natin is medyo, yung curve is pataas, di ba? Oo. Ang B is medyo scattered. So, based pa lang sa graph, class, you can easily determine kung sino yung mas malaki ang standard deviation. So, curve B has a greater standard deviation. Next. By the way, Luella, okay lang akong audio, Luella? Dili mawala? Press.
Yes, sir.
Okay lang akong audio?
Yes po. Okay po.
Sige. Thank you. Now,
Thank
let's
you po.
proceed. Normal distribution is often called bell curve because it looks like bell naman din. If you're going to graph, it looks like a bell. The normal distribution has mean, median, mode, symmetry about the center, 50% of values less than the mean, and 50% greater than the mean.